Well, that's
Yeah,
true, but this
it-
a lot concerned absentee voting and where you can drop off your ballots and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it says that. I didn't read your
yeah,
newsletter.
we have an item in the newsletter about it. So
Okay, well, if you're so interested, you can stay on at the end and just
So-
hear it again.
so yeah, you can stay on and read the newsletter. You can just read the newsletter if you're pressed for time. But most of all, make sure you're
A
informed so that
dramatic
you can
reading
vote.
of the newsletter by Brendan, I think. Nice.
Nice
Well-
mustache, Mark.
Scar. I didn't put makeup on. I'm gonna get a fake mustache.
Okay, so what do you say? Should we begin or not yet?
The YouTube stream is going and the recording is going. So
Okay,
everyone should feel,
everybody.
so you should feel free to start whenever you are ready, Pam.
Okay, I'm ready. So I'd like to welcome you to the September 1st, 2020 meeting of CB6 Landmarks, Parks, Landmarks and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Pamela Vassal. I'm the chair of the committee, and the vice chair, who's new to us, is Kevin O'Keefe. Kevin,
Yay.
just wave your hand so that people can see you. Well, you'll wave later. Mark is taking a powder. This is kind of his last official meeting.
Should I be crying or be really upset or sad or?
Well, we'll present the present afterwards.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
So now I'd like to introduce the community associate, Brendan Berth, and he will be on the call with us, and he's helped us considerably. Cody is also on the line, but he just wants to be a picture, and he doesn't want to speak. So we'll follow his directions. So I want to be clear about some of the information. Members of the public who may be on this call, I'm not sure, I haven't seen your faces. You can raise questions or comments, anything that you have to say through the Q&A feature of Zoom. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we'll field questions from the public. This is the way it works. The committee speaks first, and then if there's time, we interact with the committee. So I'm happy to announce that Anton Mahler will be taking the minutes for tonight's meeting, which is very nice of him. And we're going to take attendance, and Brendan will call the roll call. And when you hear your name, unmute yourself and say present or here or yo or whatever moves you. So Brendan, take it away.
Sure. Committee members, I will call your name and you will unmute yourselves. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Pamela Vassal.
Here.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Martin Barrett.
Uh-oh.
Marty? Guess he's not on yet.
He's at the snack table.
Matt Bondi. Matt Bondi. Jeannie D'Onofrio. Adam Hartkey.
He's here.
Here.
Anton Malner. Okay, I
He's-
saw Anton
he's
here. So. Okay. Raj Nayar. Don't see.
Here. I'm here.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay. Reshma Patel.
Here.
Sean Sherman.
Here.
Mark Thompson.
Here.
Ronnie White. Okay, Ronnie. I guess Ronnie's not here yet. Gary Papush. Okay, I did see Gary on earlier, so he is marked as here. Dean Stephanides. Dean? Okay, we do have a roll call, or we do have a quorum, excuse me.
Okay, so the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time. You see it on the screen. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. I don't see a hand. So seeing that there are no objections, there's no need for a second or a vote on this motion, but we will adopt the agenda. Okay, Brendan will, okay. So let's establish some ground rules here. So no one should speak until granted a voice by the floor. Otherwise, it's just too hard to hear and it's a zoo. Committee members, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom, or you can just wave it around and we'll see it. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty, or just wave your arm around. The chat function should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. The chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having, or to state in writing information like the email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a committee member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. We are required by executive order to create a verbatim transcript of the meeting. So please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. And all comments about something in somebody's background, you can send an email afterwards. Okay, so now tonight's agenda begins, and I'm very happy to, Brendan, do you want to introduce by name and title all the people who will be making a presentation on the first agenda item?
Okay, so there are several people from the Parks Department here, but the main one presenting from my understanding is Benjamin Nicolzi. My apologies if I botched that.
No problem. It's Nicolosi Endo.
Nicolosi, okay. Thank you.
Okay,
And
I guess Steve is not here yet.
Steve is here, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
good.
there.
Okay. So who begins? Steve, are you beginning? Are you introducing this? He seems to be muted.
He's talking, but he's muted. Steve, you have to unmute.
Oh, how can I be muted? Who would do that to me?
Okay, go for it. You're unmuted.
Okay, well, number one, we're glad to be back at Community Board 6 to present another project to improve one of your parks. We had a community input meeting, or what we also refer to as a scope meeting, back at the end of February at Yeshiva University. Pam, you were there, as well as maybe about 40 other people from the community, and we got a lot of input and got a lot of people voiced a lot of concerns and had a lot of questions, and gave us a lot of input on what they would like to see done. You'll see how we gathered that input and then analyzed it further along in this presentation. So this is a project which has a budget of 4.49 million. 3.18 million came from the mayor and was allocated back in FY18, and then Councilmember Powers supplemented the mayor's funding with another 1.31 million. So Benjamin, I just want to cover the first two slides, and then I'll pass it on to you. Can you
Sure.
put the second slide up?
Sounds good.
Have you read all those books?
Most.
Okay, very good. Yeah, go to the second slide. All right, so this shows the timeline for our capital projects. And as you can see, we're in the second column at this point with the Community Board 6 presentation. Assuming that you guys like what we're proposing, we would then move on to the Public Design Commission. Benjamin would then spend several months working on the contract documents and getting whatever permits are required. And at that point, you know, I'm not sure we would quickly move on to the procurement process. I have to tell you that all of our capital projects, for the most part, because of the COVID-19 crisis, have been paused after the design process. Only those projects which where we already had awarded contracts or were already in construction in March have been allowed to resume. So it is our hope by the time you know, Benjamin would have several months worth of work, maybe taking him to you know, to the end of the year, early next year. Maybe by that time the pause will be lifted and we'll be able to move quickly into the procurement process. But I can't promise that to you at this point. But we are trying to finish all of our design work so that we'll be ready to move on as soon as we get the word. So Benjamin, why don't you carry it forward and show them what we've come up with.
Great, thanks, Steve. Steve mentioned, my name is Benjamin Nicolosi Endo, a landscape architect for New York City Parks. Thank you all for joining tonight. So we have the goals for our project are to provide a flexible space for active play, upgrade amenities to enhance comfort on site, and add play opportunities for different age groups, and establish a safer site to attract park users. As many of you already know, the park is located in the Murray Hill neighborhood at First Avenue and East 35th Street. St. Martin Church, after which the park is named, is located along 2nd Avenue. The entrance to the Queens Midtown Tunnel is just to the north. The East River and Ferry Terminal is just a block away. And PS 281 is across from the playground along First Avenue. The playground is elevated. It's about 4 feet above sidewalk level and is outside of the 100-year floodplain. So there's no major flood hazards. When the park opened around the turn of the 20th century, it was known as St. Gabriel's Park, as was mentioned earlier, and featured a track, field, and playground. And with the construction of the Queens Midtown Tunnel around 1940, a new street was planned to run through the park, effectively cutting it into 2 parts. The buildings to the north were demolished, and that includes St. Gabriel's Church. Today, the surrounding land use is mostly residential and mixed use. There are several hospital facilities that are nearby that some may be familiar with. There aren't many parks with...
Don't worry, they're familiar with it.
There aren't many parks within a 5-minute walk of St. Martin's, but the closest park with similar features is Albano Playground, and it's about a 1/4 mile to the south. So Steve mentioned at the end of February this year, we held a community input meeting, and we explained that the funds we initially had for the multi-purpose area were freed up for use in another part of the park. That was because our in-house turf team would be able to take over the project for us rather than going through the typical capital process. And then we asked the community which areas they thought needed the most attention. And the choices were the basketball and handball courts, the playground, the entrances, or the garden. And here's a nice photograph from that meeting featuring Steve.
Oh, look, keep that one up.
And at the end of the meeting, we asked the community to choose an area of their greatest interest for reconstruction. And the playground was the most chosen. We asked everyone to put stickers on the plan that we brought with us. And as you can see, these little round dot stickers sort of, for the most part, are within the playground. And among the most common comments we heard at the meeting was a desire for a track that accommodated bikes and scooters. especially since the community expressed dismay over losing the large riding around space they had in the multi-purpose area. Other frequent requests include more climbing structures, a safer spray shower, and less exits. These are the existing conditions of the playground that we looked at. There are 2 entrances from First Avenue. There's 2 interior entrances from the multi-purpose area. The comfort station and preschool are directly across from the playground, which contains swings. There's a swing set to the north and one to the south, a sunken spray shower, and play equipment. And the last minor reconstruction of the playground was in 2002.
Are the swings the same for the same age range?
So the swings to the north are tire swings. So they're a bit larger. And then the swings to the south are a mixture of bucket seats and strap seats. So it's for a variety of ages. The bucket seats are for younger children.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Some discoveries in our analysis and discussions with the community were that the playground is too open to the street. The spray shower is unsafe since it steps down a few feet. The access to the multi-purpose area is difficult to get to and traverse because you have to go over playground equipment and granite block, some safety surface. And because there are so many trees, there's really only one area that gets direct sunlight. And these are the trees, as I just mentioned, on site. There's about 40 that can be seen here around the playground, and most are in healthy condition. And this is a solar study of the site. So the area that receives the most sunlight is in the center of the playground, just across from the play station.
If the trees are pruned, is there more light?
There could be a little bit. Some of the trees require pruning, but not many. And they do have quite a large canopy. So I'm not sure it would help that much.
Okay.
Currently, the playground contains a play unit in the center of the space. These are the two sets of swings that I mentioned earlier. The spray shower that is recessed and it is not accessible. And this left image shows the preschool entrance directly across from the playground. And the right image shows a 6-foot perimeter fence around the park. And unfortunately, it cannot be lowered with our current funding. And these are the 2 entrances from First Avenue. Each has a gate and ramps up to the playground. And this is the schematic design that we created based on community input and our analysis. The area for the design is a little bit less than half an acre. So a consolidated entrance to the playground makes a safer and more defined space. It could be seen at this central arrow right here. And to the west is a wider and smoother, more visible pathway that leads to the multi-purpose area. So as you walk into the playground, you walk in through a new, large, welcoming entrance on access with a comfort station. And when you enter a large spray shower, larger than what is there now, it becomes a nice focal point. It's on grade for easier access. And to the south is an area for picnicking. And to the north, a seating area adjacent to the spray shower. And above that is a 5 to 12 play area. And it has many challenging climbing opportunities as requested by the community. The 2 to 5 play area located in the center opens up just below. There is a generous bike and scooter area just below the new wide entrance to the multi-purpose area. And to the south, there's more of that bike and scooter area, along with seating areas and a cozy 7-foot high swing set. This is the play equipment. The 2 play areas are in close proximity. We try to keep it light and colorful, airy, because the playground is so shady. This is the 2 to 5 play equipment with lots of opportunities for group play and solitary play. There's nice play panels that are scattered around the play unit set. And this is the 5 to 12 play layout. and the spray shower that you see when you first walk in. And it has gentle, low flow water features for smaller children, and that's adjacent right to the play equipment for the smaller children, the 2 to 5. And the larger, more exciting spray features for older children is to the north, next to that play unit set, and then echoes some of the forms that the current play, sorry, not the current, the proposed play equipment has just to the north. And these are the proposed site furnishings. So there will be a drinking fountain that will be near the playground entrance, a bottle filler near the multi-purpose entrance, and we'll be using the same style of bench as what is currently in the park. And we will be placing some new lampposts in a few locations to make the space more evenly lit. The materials for the playground are fairly neutral to allow the colorful play equipment to make a big impact. So the bright colors reflect the nearby context, the gold of the St. Martin Church and the river just to the east. And a new 4-foot steel fence is going to stretch along the entrance to provide a sort of more safer enclosure. And it will allow just one main entry into the playground. And a new gate opening in the existing chain link fence will be placed more centrally for ease of access to the multi-purpose area. We'll be placing shade tolerant and native plants where appropriate on site. And there will be new trees also placed throughout the site. And these new plantings will make a more sustainable site by increasing the permeability by more than double. As you see on the left, currently it's about 12%, and with our proposed design, it will be about 32%.
Benjamin, how many new trees?
About 7 new trees, along with some smaller shrubs and
Right.
also some
Right.
smaller trees as well. So this is a bird's eye view of the proposed playground looking southwest. You can see the church in the background. A view from the proposed entrance when you first enter the playground. The new picnic area just to the south of the entrance. This is a view from the new bike and scooter area to the west. And another view from the south, just south of the 2 to 5 playground. And once more, the schematic plan. And I could remain on the slide if there's any questions or comments. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Pam. Can you please show the slides for the site furniture, please?
Brendan, did you hear that? Or Benjamin, did you hear that?
Yes, the site furniture.
I have 3 questions, Pam, later on.
Okay. Ask them.
Yes, and also, is there one for the play features?
Hold on.
I know that there's the spray showers, but what else is included in that?
I'm sorry, what else is included in the spray shower?
Yes, the other areas like the tire swing and any other activity.
So the tire swing is now in that area, you have the 5 to 12 play equipment. So that'll be the new 5 to 12 play area. Because the tire swings, there's only 3 tire swings there presently, and they take up a lot of room and they require a lot of space for safety reasons. So now we're able to put all of this play equipment in, offer a lot more climbing opportunities, opportunities for play where those swings are currently.
Okay, Mark, you had questions?
Excuse me, Pam, I'm not finished.
Oh, sorry.
On the play equipment, it sounds a tad myopic where I don't hear anything about the ADA accessibility or for inclusion for all that may need some sort of activity or recreation. I know there are some people, for example, that have that may not be able to grasp, but they would benefit from the movement of this. Do you have anything that would address, that would be more encompassing to allow more to participate? I'm thinking of standards set by like Magical Bridge and items that they have put forth their famous design and introduction of revolutionizing playgrounds and swings. And I don't see anything for if there's a caregiver to be next to like a person coming down to catch that participant because they may not be able to bottom.
So,
Just all those kind of considerations. Can you
sure.
address that, please?
And we worked with, we have an accessibility coordinator that we worked with for the design of this playground. So we made sure that there were plenty of play activities for say someone in a wheelchair. There's lots of, it's a little bit hard to see here in this rendering, but there's lots of what they call ground opportunities for play. And also the spray shower, which is currently not accessible, we now made that accessible. Currently, it steps down about 2 feet. There's large concrete steps. The slope is too steep for anyone to, who is not able to get down to the spray shower. So we have tried pretty hard to try to accommodate everyone. And also, these play panels here are also meant to be very accessible to all. And I should say, in addition, with the seating areas, we made sure that there is an accompanying area next to the benches. So if someone did have a wheelchair, they could easily kind of sort of sidle up to that bench and can be included.
Oh, great, fantastic. And is there any consideration with surfacing, just going over all surfaces with something that is impregnated with some sort of copper or silver?
All the surfaces that are proposed are accessible, and we made sure that all the slopes as well meet ADA standards. So none are over 5%.
Okay,
I'm not
well,
quite sure.
my question actually with the coding, it has to do more with, we're in the age of COVID, and any sort of treatment like that on the play equipment. It could be electrostatic, at the factory before it's installed. It doesn't have to be anything super duper because it's already built into the manufacturing process.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with any sort of copper coating
okay.
to deal with those issues. But that's something we could look
something
at.
like that in the future. Yeah, definitely. And
sure.
Also to consider for this project, it's doable and it's right now. So whatever it is, go back to the manufacturers and bring that up, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I just think in response to the last thing, I think these are the same play pieces that they presented to us like a year or so ago, where they talked about the caregivers being able to get up to the things. I mean, it looks like the same stuff, but I think that was what Parks talked about a long time ago. So I think looks like the same stuff, but I'm pretty sure. But the 3 questions I had were, is there our age-old issue of skateboarding? What will happen when skateboarders come into the park? Is there a way to let them do their thing or not do their thing? And was that considered?
It was considered, and I'd like to just go back to a photo of one of the existing conditions. So this is the shower.
And that's Adam Hartley on that little scooter, isn't it? I think.
So I know this area is quite popular for skateboarding, and that's
Mhm.
mostly because you could kind of grind along these steps, and so that opportunity is as well as the concrete benches. So that opportunity will be taken away with the new design because the spray shower will be at grade.
Is there a conflict between the ages of the skateboarders and the little kids? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, usually I think we like to keep those two activities separate, just because there is greater speed with skateboards, and there might be some type of injury that could be had. But I just also want to mention that the multi-purpose area that is now covered in asphalt, there are plans to have that turfed over with synthetic turf. So that will also, if you're worried about skateboarders using the park in general, that will also decrease the opportunities for skateboarding.
Second one is I love the security with the one gate. Thank you. Yay. Because we had a bunch of times, I mean, over the years, I mean, Steve, you know that people came about kids running out into the street with having two gates and stuff. So having one gate's a great idea. So thank you. But is there any idea of having security cameras on here? Is that necessary? The lighting is there, which is great, but
right, we are adding more lighting so that it's more light. We
Thank you.
didn't talk about having security cameras. That's not something we normally do in our designs, but we could look into that.
Okay, cool. Because
Well, I'll tell you, if I could say something on that point, we generally don't do security cameras, and that's something that we leave to the NYPD to do. If they decide that this is a crime-prone area, or wherever we have such situations in our parks, it works out better if the cameras are installed by them and they become part of their system, and they can gain access to them more easily than if they're under our than if they have to come to us and try to get them access through us. So there was a time where we would put in security cameras, but we through experience determined that it was better if it was done by NYPD directly.
Okay, cool. So maybe Pam, we should talk about that later on
okay.
in a
Their
different committee.
funding for the NYPD, their funding it was not included in the priorities, even though it was requested, unfortunately.
So
Okay, Mark, you had a third question?
Third question. I've totally, and I excuse me for forgetting this. I know at some point somebody a long time ago brought up the dog run issue, and I think it was decided there wouldn't be one here. But have you guys discussed it or thought about it, or?
That's not something we have discussed since the community input meeting. Because at that meeting in general, we were wondering what the community most wanted to see placed within the park. So once the playground was chosen, that became our main area of focus.
Okay. All right.
Okay, are you finished, Mark?
I'm done.
Okay,
I'm gonna go on mute.
Thanks,
I
Mark.
have three quick questions.
Yes.
First, I'll ask all three at once and you can answer. How often are the bathrooms cleaned? The squirrels like those wooden benches, will they get eaten alive? And is the tube that the kids crawl through made out of metal, or is it some silicone soft material?
Okay.
Well, number one, is Wes on the call?
Yes.
Wes should answer your first question.
Okay.
The bathrooms are cleaned daily, and they're checked multiple times throughout the day to see if they need any more supplies or stock and toilet paper or soap.
Okay.
So the play equipment, the tubes are made out of a type of plastic material, and it is meshed, so it's transparent, so you can see a child playing within it. And regarding the squirrels, so what we've done is we're planning on having a lot of trash compactors within the playground, and I think that also helps deter squirrels and also rats, because some of the mesh wire baskets they tend to crawl into and get up, and that I think that also creates an issue within the playground. So I think that will help. If there is an issue in the playground, I'm not aware of one currently,
Okay, so are there other questions from the committee?
Adam Hartke has his hand raised.
Okay, Adam.
Hi all. So I one of the when you had a rendering of the aerial, I saw that there was the turf on the sort of the multi-purpose area, and I remembered, oh yes, that they're going to be placing turf, sort of in the concrete, yeah, right there in the multi-purpose
Yeah.
area. Do we have
That's
a
actually asphalt. Just
Yeah.
that's just showing the current condition. Yeah,
So is that turf or is that asphalt?
asphalt.
That's going to be asphalt. Okay.
Well,
No, no, hold on one
currently in the
second.
rendering, it's asphalt. Let me just clarify, and then
Right.
there are plans to put in synthetic turf in this
Right.
area.
Right. Do we know the timeline for that?
Yeah, we don't have an exact timeline, but it's projected to be either this fall or very early next year.
Okay. And I have to ask, in the comment, somebody brought up pickleball. Big fan. Has there been any consideration of locating pickleball elsewhere? It's because it's kind of hard to play on the turf, after the fall.
Well, isn't that something that could possibly be done on the handball court?
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I know just from just kind of personal experience observing in the park. I know the handball courts currently are used for a variety of different things, including lacrosse. I've seen. Yeah, so that is potentially a possibility for
The thing about pickleball is that it appeals to a range of ages.
Yeah.
So it would be good to include if we could.
Well, I mean, I think we could talk to our recreation people, but I think there are other places where we have adapted handball courts, and people end up using those courts.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
We do have some questions from members of the public.
So let's take them if we may. There seem to be 18, 19. So I would ask the members of the public, if someone has your question, please stand down so we're not duplicating. Okay, so Brendan, you want to call on people?
I want me to call on people or just read out the questions?
Oh, read out the questions. That's good.
Sure. So one member of the public said, please explain the preschool component of the comfort station.
So currently there is a preschool within the comfort station, and as shown in an earlier photo, the two front doors to that preschool face the playground. And as far as I know, I believe one of the women who run the preschool was at our scope meeting. I think they also use the garden as well.
Is Stephanie on the call? All right, we can always have Stephanie give a report to the committee at some point. Stephanie Sochet is the preschool director.
And I should just clarify also that the comfort station, so the actual restrooms are on the south side of the comfort station.
Okay, so just because the comfort station came up at West, you said they would be cleaned once a day, but they would be checked frequently. Who would check them?
St. Martin's is actually the headquarters for District 6 maintenance, and we basically keep our fixed post staff, what we call fixed post, meaning that they would remain on site throughout the day, but generally between 7 and 3:30.
Fabulous. Okay, go for it, Brendan.
Okay. Is there play equipment for children with physical challenges? I think we might have
Yes.
discussed that already.
Yes. Yeah. There's many opportunities, and as I mentioned earlier, we worked with our accessibility coordinator to make sure that there were.
Okay, next.
Okay, next. Will the park be closed for the construction work?
Just
Well,
the playground area.
Okay. Where are the monkey bars?
There are no monkey bars, but there was quite a lot of requests for more climbing structures, and so we included that in the design of the playground. As you could see here, in this north structure here, there's a big climbing net, which is sort of akin to monkey bars. I would say it probably even offers more opportunities. It's also accessible with this this ramp that leads into it. There's also these kind of wavy noodles, these still orange balls on ropes. There's plenty of climbing opportunities that we strive to create in the playground that aren't currently there.
Great.
Do you have a quiet space designation?
There's an area for the picnic tables down to the south here. There's also some benches, some little seating areas just placed outside of the playground, the swings. There's a few up here by the multi-purpose area. I do want to, and there's also some smaller, more intimate seating that's near the entrance of the 5 to 12. And I do just want to mention that the play area is half an acre, and so we try to put in as much activities and different varieties of play experiences as we could. So there is a garden just to the south along First Avenue, and we're keeping some of these benches and picnic tables just outside of the playground, so that can be used by adults without children who want a quieter place to sit.
Okay. Next question, is there is a requirement in one of the Tudor City parks that adults must be accompanied by children. Will there be a similar safety requirement in this park?
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
But let me clarify, in terms of the area that we're referring to right now within the dotted lines, the playground proper, that rule would most likely apply. So, I mean, adults would still be able to get to the comfort station. They don't need to go into the playground to do so. So we would expect that only adults with children would be entering the playground proper.
Okay, this is a question that I know you all have already answered earlier, but this person joined a little bit late. This person's wondering what the timeline is for the start and completion of the park renovation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a bit uncertain due to COVID.
Correct.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at this point, as I mentioned earlier, there's a general hold on any projects going into the bidding process. So by the time this project is ready, several months down the road, to go into the bidding process, hopefully we'll have a green light by then and can proceed as we normally do. But at the moment, there's no such assurance.
Brendan, I see that there are 33 questions piling up. We'll be here until tomorrow. Can you skip over the ones that have been answered already and pick the ones that are the most relevant to what we've been discussing? Can you do that?
Yeah, I'll look around to see some of the questions that have been asked. Let's see. Just give me a brief moment. There are 33 questions to sort of quickly sift through.
I would ask members of the community to stop putting in questions now. We've reached a max and we're not going to 35 questions. It's just, we don't have enough time to do that. So please stop questioning. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brendan.
Okay. So will permits be limited to youth teams rather than adult leagues?
That's really not relevant to this particular project, and priority will be given on the new field to youth leagues. I don't know at the moment whether or not we would be denying all permits to adults, but the priority would be given to youth.
Okay. Let me see what else. Looks like we've had a few questions and comments regarding pickleball.
We already addressed the pickleball.
We've already addressed that.
So skip the pickleball.
Okay. Will the garden be open to everyone?
So that is outside of the scope of this project. We were just focusing on the playground. Currently, I believe the garden has a steel panel fence surrounding it. And it is, I believe it's mainly used by the preschool. So I'm not sure, Steve may have more info about that.
Well, we're gonna look at that question. I don't have an answer at the moment, but we're gonna review that situation.
Okay, Brendan, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to understand more about the thought to turf over the entire asphalt area. There's less functionality for bike riding, ball playing, etc. with turf. So-
Right, and so that is also outside of the scope of the playground, but because that comment came up quite frequently in our community input meeting, we did our best to address it by providing as large as possible scooter and bike track area just to the west of the play units.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to say that I don't know of any other playground where we've done something like this. So this is fair. This is pretty unique.
Okay, Brendan?
Okay, I'm just sort of skipping over here, trying to get to questions that haven't already been addressed.
Okay.
One question is, the equipment appears to have a lot less surface area in terms of what is there now. Could it be partially more traditional? There's not a lot of space for kids to stand together like they do now on the different levels of the play space.
So this play equipment was also responding to a great need to have more climbing structures and also to have separate play areas for the smaller children and older children. So we did our best to accommodate that. And I would say because there was such a great desire to have an area for biking and scooting, that did take up quite a large footprint of our playground. So in thinking about the design, we wanted to create sort of more airy, sort of lighter structures that wouldn't have such a big footprint while giving an opportunity for biking and scooting and many other activities, including a much larger spray shower.
Okay. Will there be a gate at the entrance/exit? And by the way, Pam, if you need to stop at a certain point, let me know. I'm just sort
I
of-
certainly will, and I think we discussed the gate.
There are two gates currently at First Avenue at the entrance to the north and to the south. Right now, there isn't a plan to have a gate at the entrance to the playground directly across from the comfort station because of the two gates that are at First Avenue to get into the park.
Okay. Is the bike path flat? Hard to tell in the images if the paths are just flat. The floor material for the water area, is that one that is not slippery?
Yes, it will be a texture. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, you go on. There'll be a texture for the water?
Yes, so this surface is a colored concrete that will have a texture that will prevent slippage. And I'm just going quickly to the renderings of the bike play area. They are flat for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, Brendan, why don't you pick 5 more that seem most relevant?
Okay, I will do that. Just
While you're doing that, I'm going to ask Steve a question. Steve, what is it that you want from us tonight? Do you need a vote or you just are making the presentation?
No, I guess no, we would need a resolution from you so that we could move the project forward to the Public Design Commission.
Okay. Okay, Brendan, go ahead.
okay, just very, very quickly before I get to the final questions. We're still getting a lot of things in the Q&A feature about the garden, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not within the scope of the project, as well as comments about the pickleball. I just
That's
thought I'd
correct.
say that.
No, I tell you, I
Um,
would,
even-
if you can, I'd like you to forward the comments about the garden to me so I can deal with that separately.
Okay, so comments about the garden forward to you.
Yeah,
I
please.
will make note of that. Okay, just a moment.
Pam, could I ask a question, timeline question for Steve?
Yes.
When is when are you to be heard at the Public Design Commission? So we just have a sense of the timeline here.
Actually, Leslie, do you have that answer? Leslie, are you still with us? Benjamin, do you know?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm here. I was muted. It would be mid-September.
Okay, I ask because our full board meets a week from tomorrow, and so that then they would be able to vote on any resolution at that time.
Okay, but we would need the resolution from the committee first.
Right.
No. From the board.
Right,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So, someone asked, we were hoping for more swings, but in actuality, we've lost swings. Is there still room for adjustment?
Well, so the swings to the north that I mentioned earlier are the 3 tire swings, which take up quite a large footprint. So what you gain by removing those swings is a large play unit structure for older children. We can't put everything into this space. So if we were to place some more swings within the design, you would lose quite a lot of play equipment for the older children, or something would have to give. You'd either lose part of the spray shower, which I know was a major request to have a much larger spray shower in that grade, or lose an area for biking and scooting.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the tire swings allow multiple children to sit in one swing? Is that correct?
That's correct. There could be a few different children that could sit in one swing.
Okay. Another question. Can we see what equipment is in the center of the playground up close again?
Sure. This is the play equipment. This is for ages 2 to 5.
Okay. And staying on the topic of equipment, I think that's a good segue to another question, which is the slides are metal. They can get very hot in the sun. Is making them a different material a consideration?
Well, also, I should say that one of the things that makes these slides very hot in the sun too is if they're south facing. So we made sure that all the slides are facing north, away from the sun. So they will be cooler.
It's also a very shady playground.
Right.
It is. There's a tremendous amount of shade in this playground. Thanks, John.
Don't know if I've gotten up to 5 yet, but if not, I'll continue firing away. What is in the areas to the side of the comfort station outside the playground area? I see some gray rectangles on the rendering. There are 2 picnic tables on each side currently.
Right. So we're leaving the picnic tables. That's just outside the playground. There's one to the south and one to the north. These gray rectangles. So that's right now. There's granite block pavers and a tree pit. So that's what they're seeing, just to the north and south of the comfort station.
Okay, Brendan, what else?
Still a lot of comments about pickleball. I just thought I'd make that clear. I know I've brought that up already, but
All right, send those comments to me as well.
okay, I can do that.
So this meeting, we have to write a resolution, right? Or at least discuss.
Yes, we have to decide if we're in agreement about what we see, and then
Should we move on
find
to that?
someone to write the resolution.
Yeah, should we move on to that? It seems like we're hitting a wall.
I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, cool.
So I'm addressing the committee. Are we in agreement that we want to write a resolution about this and about the approval of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to make sure that there's language on any sort of updates on having microbacterial surfaces protection on all the surfaces. You know, if there's this equipment is all commercial, and for anything that is all these new updated standards, for that not to be addressed and incorporated and mentioned at all is just ridiculous.
Ronnie,
So
we can put this into the resolution.
that's exactly what I'm asking. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Okay, so are we all in agreement about this? Brendan, do you want to ask if everyone is in agreement? I don't know how we do this on Zoom, or whether we just ask if there's someone who would volunteer to write this reso.
Yeah, so
Since I have the expertise, I'll do it.
Is that you, Ronnie?
Yes.
Okay,
Yay, Ronnie.
thank you. That's great. So, okay, so you know the full board is next week.
it is
Okay.
a week from tomorrow.
Yeah,
All right. I'll work on it up until this weekend.
okay, that's great. So Steve, while you're still here, I have a,
Pam, was there a motion on the floor?
would someone like to put a motion forward?
Sure. I move that we write a resolution of support for the plan for the park.
Second.
Okay.
All's in favor, right?
All in
Those
favor?
who are, okay, so I'm going to call each of your names. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, say nay. All those who abstain, say abstain. All those not entitled, say not entitled. Pamela Vassal,
I'm all for it.
Kevin O'Keefe,
Affirmative.
Marty's not here. Matt Bondi,
All for it. Thank you.
Jeannie D'Onofrio. Is that an in favor or
In favor. In favor.
Adam Hartke,
Aye.
Anton Malner,
In favor?
Raj Nayar,
In favor.
Reshma Patel,
In favor.
Don Sherman,
In favor.
Mark Thompson,
In favor?
Ronnie White,
In favor.
Gary Papush.
In favor.
The resolution passes.
Splendid. And let's add that Ronnie White has volunteered to write the reso.
How many people passed it? Was it 9? For the record,
It was 12. who
12.
voted in favor.
12 affirm and 0 against.
Yeah, 12 in favor, 0 against, 0.
0 abstention.
Okay, so, all right, Steve, while you're here, I just have one other question. Bellevue Park, has that been put on hold?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's move ahead with our agenda.
Thank you all. Appreciate your
Okay,
comments.
thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you.
your work and what you've put forward. It looks really quite splendid, I have
Thank
to
you, Pam.
say. And
I'll stop the share and turn it back over to Brendan.
okay, so next I want to, on the agenda, we have the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project, and Adam Hartke is kind enough to give us an update. It doesn't have to be a forever darling update. He's just going to give us a quick overview.
Just the greatest hits. So anyway, just giving an update of the ESCR. The last time that the project team came and spoke to CB6 on June 22nd, they came to the Land Use and Waterfront Committee and they provided a general update. And so according to the project team in June, They're on schedule with major construction, and this is set to commence in the fall. This is due primarily to federal funding with the project. So in terms of funding and all the other general overarching questions, those seem to be answered by that. Also, the latest development since that time has been that there was a lawsuit alleging that the project resulted in park alienation, and that was dismissed in court. And so again, the project's moving forward. Most of this work is going to take place below 14th Street. The project is still broken up into basically two phases, that above 14th Street and that below 14th Street. DDC will present the land use and waterfront at the end of the month to provide a more detailed timeline. They will discuss outreach methods, which include website, social media, community information center, etc. The board continues to monitor mitigation efforts throughout CB6 and CB2. Though most of the work is concentrated in CB2, both residents of the board are affected by the broader project. One mitigation option in the district, the Con Ed peer activation, seems to be on hold due to the current crisis/budget situation. We'll continue to press for improved mitigation efforts, especially as we get closer to the work that's supposed to begin in the district. Again, the project team will present at this month's Land Use and Waterfront Committee, which I will be chairing, which will be real fun. So if you want to attend and join and ask some questions, we'll be happy to entertain those. So that's pretty much all I have.
Adam, have they been delayed because of COVID, or everything is just moving ahead?
What they've told us is that everything's moving ahead. Will there be delays? We'll see. We'll see what they have to say at the end of the month, but full steam ahead and on all fronts is what they're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions for Adam? Okay.
Hi, this is Jeannie. I have a question. Sorry. I was trying to
Okay.
raise my hand. Just a question about the budget. Is it 100% secure?
I mean, what they've told us is that that's the way they made it sound. Again, there's a lot of federal funds that are tied up with this, and there's also a lot of sort of other city funds that are earmarked. As we sort of continue in this budget crisis of all sorts of things that seem to be getting worse with each day, who knows? But as of right now, they're saying everything's secure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, seeing no other questions, let's move ahead to agenda point number 3, which is a very quick little discussion. I asked Brendan to send you an overview of where the POPs are located, and there's a document that explains what they can be used for. I thought it would be important for those of us on the committee to read this so that we know, for example, if a school wants to use one of those parks. Also, we pass those parks a lot. If they're not open, if they seem dirty, if the garbage is overflowing, if whatever, those are the kinds of pieces of information that would be very useful to all of us. So it would be great, even though the document is long and probably convoluted, I think that reading it would be really helpful and would be good to know what exists in our district so that we know what we're looking at, because these things come up all the time. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that, given your history with POPs? I guess that's a no. He's muted, so I guess he's saying no. Okay, does anyone have a question about the POPs? I just wanted it on the agenda so that we could at least address it in some kind of way. Any questions from anybody?
Well, do me a favor, just don't call them parks.
No, I'm sorry, POPs.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
they're not parks.
Right, that is correct. I sit corrected.
Okay.
Okay, so next we're going to move on. Seeing no other questions, we'll move on to Wesley Hamilton, who is our man in the park, and he's going to give us a report about what's going on. Wesley, would you be sure to include things about GLIC and about garbage pickup and the overall budget and the trees being replaced after the storm? And I heard today that West Nile spraying of mosquitoes is going to happen on Thursday. Can you address that, please?
I will go into some of them, yes. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming here on our Zoom meeting. Just to touch base with Pam on a couple of things, the West Nile treatment is done by Department of Mental Health and Hygiene. So it's a different agency that usually performs the West Nile. Occasionally, in some cases, Parks has worked with them in some of our larger parklands, but I don't believe we have any areas in District 6 that we work together with Department of Health on that. So they will be doing the treatment of the mosquito treatment for the West Nile disease. Brief update, I mean, a lot has changed since July, or I guess since the last time we met. All of our parks are now open and full swing, as everybody's seen and know. They're all being heavily used, being that a lot more people are at home and using our parks for exercising. But all the features are open now. Our playgrounds are open. Our spray showers are on. Our basketball courts are open. Our dog runs are open. So that's a new adjustment for us as well. But you know, with the heavy usage, but we're adjusting to some of the challenges that we're getting daily with our staff.
Did you have to cut staff?
We did not have to cut staff yet. We haven't had any staff cuts. We did not receive any seasonal staffing, so we didn't get any additional staff that we would normally get this time of year. And District 6 did used to get a couple of staff, so we didn't lose any staff, but we didn't gain what we normally do to help accommodate the larger volume of park usage in the summer. However, to answer your question on garbage pickups, we're still able to do garbage pickups. We generally pick up our parks depending on the usage and the volume of garbage, anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. Varies from park to park. But our larger parks, our playgrounds, we try to hit them daily if we can, but at least 5 times a week. And then some of our smaller locations, we may hit 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the volume of garbage that's collected there. We're still able to mobilize and go to our parks usually daily with our mobile crews. Our biggest issues that we have from a maintenance standpoint right now is, like I said, we did not get any additional staff for our seasonal summer staffing. And of course, we're going through COVID, and you know, we still get people that get ill. You know, if they get ill, we don't know how long they're going to be out. We're doing pretty well, but not with many people getting COVID. But however, it is a possibility, and it's a realistic situation that we have to deal with, and we try to be as friendly as we can with our staff. So we're encouraging them, obviously, if they're not feeling well, don't come in, right? Because you know, we don't know what it is until you go through it. So from day to day, that sometimes causes a little bit of an operational changes, or may delay some garbage pickups or something until we can figure out if the person's coming in. Do we need to get a second person to take over the garbage route? But we've been accomplishing that, and we've been able to overcome these challenges. But those are some of the challenges that we do arrive in this time and era with the pandemic.
What about the ambassadors that were hired to work in playgrounds? Are they part of your budget? Is it somebody else's budget? What's the deal there?
The ambassadors were existing employees who were redeployed.
Okay.
So we still have them.
Okay. Okay, Wes, go ahead. Sorry.
We do, and we don't have any assigned in District 6, although they have worked some in District 6. They've been used mobily, and they've worked out of the rec center, and they've walked to some of our parks. But we don't have any assigned directly to my maintenance staff. Thank you, Steve. Going into that, after we've opened up our parks, we've discussed that tropical storm issue. I can say that the tropical storm actually did a fair amount of damage in District 6 in Manhattan. Did a lot more damage in 6 than it did in my other district in 8. And as well as the city in general, it did a lot of damage, especially in Queens and Staten Island, my hometown here. So our forestry crews have been working diligently. You may have noticed in some of our parks, we still have some debris. They've been prioritizing their work based on the danger, and in many cases, a lot of people didn't understand that. You know, we were checking first. We had to check to make sure all the streets were cleared, and then we're going through and making sure that people have access to their doorways, so EMS could get to their houses if they needed to. And then they started looking at trees that could fall or could injure. And then they started looking at stuff that was on the ground. So for the most part, we're specifically in District 6, I'm happy to say that we've got everything on the ground. We've got a lot of it cleaned up. We do have a few limbs and brush piles that we need to remove, but most of the dangerous work has been done. We did have some closures, like Sutton Place was closed for quite some time, and people were wondering why it took so long, and that's what I'm here to explain is our forestry crews are working not only in District 6, but they're working throughout the borough, and in many cases they were deployed to assist forestry crews in Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island for those emergency situations and making sure that the priority, what we would call priority ones, were addressed. So it did take some time. Yes.
Do the limbs get put in a chopper, or do you chop them up and use them for firewood that can go to other places? I have no idea how that works.
Sure. In most cases, we don't have any quarantine areas, I don't believe, in Manhattan, but in Brooklyn and Queens have some areas that are quarantined for the Asian longhorn beetle. But in most cases, that's a little separate situation, how they handle that type of wood that comes out of what they call a quarantine zone. But for the wood that's chopped down in Manhattan, it's chipped up and then reused. In many cases, we're using it right back in our parks and gardens. And so that's
as mulch.
Yes.
As wood chip and mulch.
Yeah,
And they basically do the same thing.
We don't use it as firewood. We use it as mulch.
Well, I thought perhaps you supply firewood to Gracie Mansion. Go ahead.
No, I don't think so. But I tell you, in Manhattan, we lost a total of 238 trees that were downed in that storm.
Wow.
We were not our borough was not the worst off by far, but in Manhattan alone, we lost 238 trees.
That's a lot of trees.
Yep.
Okay, Wes.
That fair amount was in District 6. We're still currently working on that, and that is for the most part my wrap up.
No, we have the biggest issue, which is Glick Park and that sinkhole, which is really problematic.
Well, good. I mean, that's why I'm glad you asked that. It's actually not a new sinkhole. There's not actually a sinkhole there. It is an area where the piers underneath have some concerns to our engineers. So we blocked that off.
Yeah, but excuse me, the blocking off isn't really blocked off. It's that yellow tape and it gets moved all the time and it's a potential danger because it's a very heavily used park.
We have French barricades that we've installed there as well, and we tried to wire them up. Unfortunately, many vandalism people are breaking the wiring, and it's the way we're connecting the French barricades. We are looking into having a temporary fence, a more permanent fencing until it goes under Capitol. But the site is planned to go under Capitol. And it is budgeted to make repairs to the piers underneath there in that capital project.
Is that something that we have to wait until COVID is gone?
Well, again, this is a project that's in the design process. So we don't know yet whether we're going to run up against a COVID issue when we're ready to proceed. So, I'm hoping to see the design work in the next few months.
Okay, so I don't mean to be a naysayer or the predictor of gloom and doom, but I'm concerned that there's going to be a very serious accident that happens there, and then we'll have to do something after the fact. So I'm really concerned about how precarious it appears to be right now.
Yeah. Well, we have our engineers looking at it, so at this point, they don't apparently feel that it's in any imminent danger of collapsing further.
Steve, will you let us know what your engineers have to say so that we can stay on top of it and know what's going on?
Yes, definitely.
That would be great.
Yeah.
How much of our budget got cut, Wesley?
I'm sorry, the budget information I don't have. I don't know if Steve may have any more information on the budget.
Well, speaking about if we're talking about the expense budget, The Parks Department as a whole got cut by 14%, which works out to $84 million.
Wow,
It's a very significant cut.
I'll say.
Are those cuts, is there a way to sort of break down those cuts? Are those by, to see how are they distributed just throughout the entire Parks Department as a whole? Or is there a way to sort of itemize it by district?
I don't know. I don't think we've itemized it by district. But the most significant issue, which is obvious to us during the summer, is that we were unable to hire our seasonal workforce of roughly 1,700 people that we depend upon to keep our parks clean and maintain them during the heavy usage of the summer season. So the effects, I guess, are somewhat noticeable in many of our parks. But it's very difficult for Wes and his staff to keep up without having those seasonal workers.
Okay, so ultimately, who's going to decide what gets parsed out to what district for the cuts?
Well, these cuts have already taken effect. I mean, the problem we face at the moment is whether or not we're going to experience any layoffs. And so, as you read in the papers and hear every day, this is a decision which still is yet to be made, dependent upon whether or not we get some assistance either from the state or maybe from the feds.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Wes or for Steve, for that matter, about the parks?
I see Adam has his hand raised.
Okay, Adam, you must have it raised very small.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess to be a little proactive on just the previous doom and gloom that we're talking about, you've been seeing with the articles about, with the cuts, the trash collection, everything like that, there's been sort of independent efforts to sort of assist. Is there anything that, that I know we've had It's My Park days and other sorts of stuff. Is there anything that we potentially can do as a community to help sort of carry the load during these tough times? I don't think we can fix the sinkhole, but maybe with trash and other sorts of things. Is there anything that we can do to assist?
Well, our Partnerships for Parks program is still working with friends groups all over the city, and is with It's My Park Day projects and other such volunteer work. We do have some groups that are coming out and helping in some respects.
Okay, well, Steve, will you let us know if there's something that comes up that you think we could assist the Parks Department with? Raj, are you going to say something or just changing position?
Changing positions.
Okay.
But I'm still in support of what you're saying.
Anybody else have a question about parks?
I see Reshma has her hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question about the trees. You mentioned that 238 trees we lost in Manhattan. Will those be replanted?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer. I would assume at some point they will be. They will be added to our list. And, I don't know whether, if they were on the sidewalks, I'm more confident that they will be replanted than if they were inside parks. But that's a good question. I'll try to get an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That's great.
And actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Also related to trees being down. I know, at least in some cases, trees that had issues in the tropical storm were due to trees that were sick, and I assume for that, obviously, you call 311 about them. But my question is, how long, like when you call 311 about a sick tree, how long does it usually take for the Parks Department to inspect, to check things out?
We have a whole new tree management protocol, and dependent upon the severity of the condition, that generally determines the response time. But I would assume that we could probably at least get it inspected within a week.
Yeah, I found there was a tree that was in bad shape and I called, but I didn't say that I thought it was in danger of falling. So I called back and said that I thought it was in danger of falling. And in 2 days, somebody was here and the tree was gone. So I think it depends on how you report it and what kind of danger you see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it depends upon the, as I mentioned, the severity of the condition and the hazard that it presents.
Right. Okay, seeing no other questions about parks, Wes and Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate your input. And now
I have a question for Mr. Hartke.
Oh dear, go for it.
I want to know if he's related to the former senator from, was it Indiana?
Indiana, I'm not. I get this a lot, at least up here. I think we're distant cousins. They're the much more successful family.
Okay, all right, well, all right.
Yeah, but you're the very nice part of the family.
Right.
No, I think he was a pretty damn good senator. Okay.
That's right here.
He was.
Yeah, all right, very good.
Okay,
right.
so now we're going to move on to the chair's report. I don't have.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Talk to you all soon.
God willing. Thank you.
Maybe, hopefully in person.
Okay, that would be great. So what I wanted to do, this is very brief. I just want to give some kind of overview because there are some new people here. And I think it would be great if everyone would just introduce themselves, even though your name is under your picture. Just introduce yourself, and if you have something to say fast, you can say it. If not, just say your name so people hear your voice and know what the deal is. So who wants to start? Kevin, you start because he's our new vice chair.
Thank you, Pam. Kevin O'Keefe. I live in Peter Cooper Village and happy to be working with Pam more closely this year.
Okay, great. I'm Pam Vassell. I'm the chair, and I live in Gramercy Park.
In the park?
Yeah, well, I'm in the park often enough, but not in the park, no. I live on the park. Okay, Raj, you want to speak next?
Sure, it's Rajesh Nair, and I live in Murray Hill.
Okay, Anton?
Sure, Anton Melner, and I live on the Upper East Side.
And he's a superb note taker. Mark?
Mark Thompson, I live in Stuytown. I'm former vice chair. Thank you, Kevin, yay. Former chair of the committee and former chair of the board.
Okay, Steve Simon, everybody knows, I think, because he just spoke. And he's not part of the committee, but he's here often enough. Sean?
Hey everyone, Sean Sherman. I live on Gramercy Park, not in, along with Pam, and I'm super excited and glad to be a part of the committee. So nice to meet you all. Hope to see you soon.
And we don't live together. I'm just making that clear. Okay.
Could have kept the mystery, Pam.
Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Hartke. Live real close next to Raj here in Murray Hill.
Okay, Jeannie.
Hi, I'm Jeannie D'Onofrio. I live in Stuyvesant Town. When I moved to New York City 30-something years ago, my first destination was Murray Hill. And I'm still considered a relative newbie to the CB6 and this committee, having served now for about 1.5 years.
Okay, Reshma.
Hi, I'm Reshma Patel, and I live in Turtle Bay near Tudor City. And this is my 3rd year now starting on the committee.
Thank you. Ronnie? Hello.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had Butterfinger scam. Hi, everyone. I'm Ronnie, and I am a longtime resident, and I own my apartment here at 330 3rd Avenue, which is at the corner of 24th Street, and the original location of the Rose Hill Mansion.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Who did I miss? Brendan, do you want to say a word?
Dean.
Dean.
I'm here.
Yes, okay. So
Hi,
go
I'm
ahead.
I'm Dean Stephanides. I live on Beekman Place.
Thank you. Anyone else who I missed? Brendan, say a word and,
Very good.
huh?
Yeah, I'm
And
Brendan and
Gary.
I work in the CB6 office.
Okay, Gary?
Gary Papish. I'm semi-retired. I was chair of the board, chair of the committee, and I wanted to ask Steve Simon if he was related to Paul Simon.
Well, we'll ask him to hum a few bars next time he joins us. Anybody else? I guess not. Okay, so I wanted to say something that I think is really important, given that we have all these budget cuts, given that the city is in bad shape, given that schools are going to open and nobody knows really if, what those circumstances are going to be. If they need outdoor spaces, what kind of outdoor spaces can we provide? Which is why I'm asking that you look at the POPs and see if you see anything that might be suitable as a space for the kids. But I would ask that you function as if you had a third eye, and the third eye is for the community board and for the people who we represent on the community board, so that we can do them a service and help them in whatever way is possible. And I'd like us to be as proactive as possible. If you see a project that you think we should participate in or that we should do, please bring it to our meeting and let it be heard. Everything is open and totally available for comment and input. We look to you to make this work. So does anyone have a question for me about anything? If not, let's then move on to the to old business. And I've asked Kevin to be the chair of this discussion, because it seems to be something that's come up, and Kevin has a great deal of information about it. Kevin, you want to give an overview and then say what you say?
I know what you're talking about, so I'd be happy to. So a community board member asked the committee to address the topic that was the topic of a recent Daily News op-ed that was co-written by her rabbi. The piece questions why the statue of former New Amsterdam Governor Peter Stuyvesant in Stuyvesant Square has not been removed. Reported anti-Jewish and pro-slavery opinions held by Stuyvesant are among the rabbi's concerns. Now, he had just asked that we talk about this. So I guess we are talking about it. It's important to point out that in 1836, when the farmland that was donated, not donated, it was a $5 fee for the city to purchase farmland from the Stuyvesant family. It was Peter Gerard Stuyvesant, not Peter, the Governor Stuyvesant. He and his wife, Helen Rutherford, were actually the ones that gave the land to the city for that $5, which I think, Brendan, is what, about $140 today?
I think so. That's what it said.
Yeah. So, for very little money, even if you adjust for inflation.
Now, the statue was actually came in the 20th century. It was added, and that is of the controversial New Amsterdam Stuyvesant. I think it's important to point out that the sculptor of that statue is Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney. Let me try that again. Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney. Now, she, as a lot of us know, holds a noted place among female artists. She started the Whitney Museum of American Art when the Met turned down her offer to donate some 500 works by American artists, many of them women. Because of that turn down, she started the Whitney Museum, which I think we're all familiar with. She did the statue without a fee. I saw the request from the rabbi was to take the name off the statue. Well, there's actually two names on the statues. As Pam knows, I went by there yesterday to reconfirm. Ms. Whitney's name is also sculpted into the statue. Peter Stuyvesant's name and title and years served are on there. And Gertrude Whitney, it just says Gertrude Whitney SC for sculptor. So there's no necessarily written praise of the former governor, nor is there any praise necessarily of the sculptor, but I think that's important. Further research, according to Associated Press, shows that Robert Moses was the one who asked a Peter Stuyvesant descendant, Augustus Van Horn Stuyvesant, to unveil the statute in 1941. And of course, Robert Moses has public grounds named for him in CB6. We can talk more about this, including the potential rabbit hole we would go down to if we start questioning names, including the Duke of York, the namesake for New York City, who was the first head of the Royal African Company, known for creating British slave trades.
Not to mention Stuytown and the park and all the other Stuyvesant named whatever.
Right. Now, the request was, can't we just replace Peter Stuyvesant maybe with a statue of Asser Levy? Well, there are questions after research, as Brendan knows, about interaction with Native Americans and slavery by Mr. Levy that a lot of people would find unpleasant. And as an example of something that may need to be understood more, Leo Hershowitz in his Johns Hopkins University Press book from 1990, American Jewish History is the title, writes of Levy and his wife, quote, "The couple had the services of at least one Negro boy," unquote. Hershowitz discovered the home inventory compiled by Asser Levy, in which Levy listed one Negro boy for which Levi placed the monetary value of 20 pounds. The boy was listed between sundry pieces of gold worth 13.1 pounds and one belt and hat worth 0.15 pounds. So he listed his servant as property. That's the person that was requested to replace potentially Governor Stuyvesant.
Kevin, have we gotten comments from the community about this or just from the rabbi?
Just from the rabbi, who asked a fellow community board member to please address this at this committee meeting.
Okay, so Cody and Brandon and Mark, actually, and probably Gary, have you heard anything? Has anything like this come before us up to this point? I mean, I don't want us to be on the wrong side of this. At the same time, I don't want to open up, you know, something that I just don't know. It seems humongous to me.
I think we should table this. It's gotten too much. It's too much already. Taking down statues of Confederate generals is one thing, but it seems like there's nobody who's ever lived, who's ever been important enough to be talked about, that you can't find one thing politically incorrect by our standards of our time if you checked into it. And if you really was going to do it, there probably would be no statues left in New York, and all streets would be named Maple Avenue or Fifth Avenue.
Mark?
Pam, I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry, Mark. Oh my gosh. Hi, Mark. I'm sorry.
Right. I love you. I love you.
You have to have the African American lens and perspective on a comment on this one, Pam. And I have to agree with Gary.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is that we table, oh, Mark, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm fine. I kind of agree. I think that we need to table and look at it some more, because there's so much going on. You know, it's not.
You talk about things in Board 6 named after anti-Semites. How about the Ford Foundation?
Okay, so let's table this discussion until such time when it either comes up again or when we have a clearer mind to like address it, given what else is going on in the city. Although I don't mean to minimize this. I think it's a big deal issue, and it obviously came up for a reason. So, you know, let's just keep it in the background for the moment. And if anyone hears anything or if it comes to us, let's raise it and discuss it and see what we think about it, what kind of resolution we can, I don't mean writing a reso, I just conclusion we can
I hope it
draw.
never comes back.
Huh?
I hope it never comes back.
Well, it will, that's for sure. Okay.
Or we could just add plaques to all the statues and say this was an anti-Semite or this is a slave owner. Leave the statues up.
It might be possible to just have a statue of the sculptor since
Mm.
it's the Whitney, but you know, let's just let it be for the moment. And so I think, given that is there any other business that anyone wants to raise or?
You know what, Pam, I have to say, I was very inspired by the playground presentation. It's outrageous that parks and whoever would give us the recycled playground idea. It's so old that it's not even up to current PAR standards, and be absolutely ignorant of you know, sort of like safe surfacing and knowing how about antibacterial surfaces and silver and copper impregnation in electrostatic spraying. These are already available. It's not as if it came about because of COVID. It existed before it, and it, you know, without having those kind of standards written into when they're doing RFPs for the vendors is asinine. And so I would propose, and I would work on it and spearhead it, that we, you know, work on that with parks, with DCAS, and with whomever comes and starts presenting playgrounds and any sort of updates where the public is involved, that they too know that CB6 has, you know, a certain standard, and don't bring anything that doesn't meet it, because it's ridiculous just to have the same old when the new thing is available and it's cheaper and it keeps people healthy.
Ronnie, thank you very much. And I look forward to the resolution where you've added some of that language into the reso. And I think it certainly is a good point. I'm cheered by the fact, not really, that it's going to take forever until this finally happens, given the budget cuts and given the fact that we're on pause. And hopefully we may be past some of this pandemic craziness, although for sure there'll be another one. So I think the points you're raising are valid and wonderful, and I don't mean wonderful, but we certainly appreciate your bringing that to our attention.
Yes, no problem. It should be standard. It's not as if this is a one-time thing. It has to be updated. You know, if there is some sort of levy and, you know, it's too short, you make it larger, you know, and this is basically the same thing. It's fortifying and budgeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, I have some, I think it's old and new business. I just wanted to say for the record about, we made a pre-COVID request for basketball nets for the 13 public hoops in CB6. Ashley Kunicki, the Manhattan Senior Outreach Coordinator for Partnership for Parks, called last week to say that thanks to the push by Deputy Chief of Operations for the Parks Department, Ralph Mussolino, CB6 has been given at least 2 nets for every hoop.
How about a ladder?
And she is looking for a ladder now because she said it's okay for us to take the any concerns about us doing the work ourselves if we want to. She said, I don't see any concerns whatsoever, legally otherwise. So
Wow.
she's trying to find us a ladder, but you know, there's also an opportunity for us, if we want to upgrade some of the backboards with funds. So I didn't know if we wanted to go ahead and start putting those nets up, or wait and see if we can maybe upgrade some of the backboards, for example, or rims that are have seen their day.
This is what I think. I think we should put up the nets so that at least people can play, and we should look into what the cost of the backboards are and see how we want to move forward with that. I just think that would be the better thing, rather than delay any possible games that could happen.
Okay, great.
All right.
Hey, Kevin, I have a dumb question. How much were the nets? How much is a net?
Well, I don't know how much Ralph got them for. He didn't say. I think they may have found a stash somewhere, is how it sounded. I priced them out at about $13 for a halfway decent net.
Oh, all right. So if they get stolen, no big deal. We can replace them.
Exactly. He said he can go at least 2 deep, hopefully more.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so
Thank you.
one ladder will do it, or we need several ladders at different
A very
locations?
tall person could do it.
Okay.
You know
All
what I mean?
right, so let's see what the deal is. And given that there's no other question or what have you, I'm going to say that we should have a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Second.
Third.
Okay, so at 8:40, we are adjourning. I wish all of you a very good night. Thank you very much for your participation. And we'll see you soon. See you next week at the full board.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no, if you want to stick around for the voting, I can tell you something. It's quick. Anyone who wants to stick around.
I'm voting in person. I don't trust him.
Yeah,
I'm voting